Fuck you! Fuck you! And fuck you!
Well, it's another episode of the Glass Jaw podcast, which will have an infrequent delivery. Who knows when the next episode will come out? That all depends on the availability of those who participate in this podcast. And here's what we've got for this episode. Just me and Dean, again, and we will argue about some things. We may just discuss others. We are going to talk what we'd like to see in a boxing video game. We're going to talk about the Stub Hub Center, Home Depot Center, and what our favorite fights are from that location. We are going to talk about what has too much hype right now. What is getting way too much praise, way too much credit, which may not necessarily deserve it. And what two fighters would be the perfect complement for each other on a card, the same way Golovkin and Gonzalez are. So, Dean, okay. All right, so first up, we're going to discuss the Stub Hub Center. Now, why we're going to discuss that is because, well, I'm going to work on this piece this week. I've been working on it because we've got Berto Ortiz coming up this weekend, and I don't know when this podcast is going to get released. So you may be hearing this after I've written the piece. But basically, the Stub Hub Center has been the home to some of the best fights we've seen in recent memory. I mean, the ratio of great fights here to just cards in general is ridiculous. I mean, this venue had Israel Vasquez versus Rafael Marquez. It had two of those fights. It had Mosley Mayorga. It had Chavez Jr. versus Brian Vera. It had Robert Guerrero versus Yoshihiro Kamigai. Brandon Rios versus Mike Alvarado won. Tim Bradley versus Ruslan Provodnikov. A bunch of fights. Margarito Williams. For you, Dean, what has been the best fight that has taken place at the Stub Hub Center?
It's a good question. I was considering one of the Vasquez Marquez fights, but probably Bradley and Provodnikov. That fight was just ridiculous. Like, it was so back and forth, and Bradley had to come through hell to win that fight. He just had to weather the storm in ways that nobody in the first 6 rounds thought he was going to be able to do over the next 6. It was just a crazy back and forth fight with knockdowns, and look at the state of both the guys' faces after the fight. It was exactly that. It was a fight. It was very little boxing, and
Bradley, there was a little bit of boxing in the middle.
Yeah. Well,
just enough that Bradley was able to get a decision.
Yeah, but for a guy like Bradley who was willing to trade openly with somebody like Provodnikov, it was crazy to watch. I think it might have been the 6th round where they just both swinging for the fences. It's like, have you guys ever heard of head movement? Shit.
No. Have you seen them fight? Provodnikov, for that matter, though.
Provodnikov. Like, it's like a common trend with him. He just doesn't move his head. But yeah, it was a great fight. I think Freddie Roach said it was one of the best fights he's ever seen as well, which is quite high praise considering
his guy lost.
Yeah. What about you? Who would you pick?
Well, I wanted to talk about that fight first. I remember that fight specifically, like, so vividly because I didn't watch it live. I was out that night and I didn't get a chance to watch it live. And I remember laying in bed. It was like 2, 3 in the morning, and I couldn't get to sleep. And I turned the fight on. I got the link, and I started watching it. And I remember I started getting sleepy. And then the second, third round, I was like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah, like wide awake.
I was like, "What in the world?"
Glued to it.
This is a Friday Night Fights fighter. What is going on with Bradley? And then at that point, I had to put it away. I'm like, I can't stay up till 4 in the morning watching this. I got to go to bed. I had to be up in like a couple of hours. And then when I finally did watch it, I was like, my God, that's just the fight of the year. Like, already, I think it happened in like February or March. The fight that I would pick, though, for like my favorite fight that was at Stub Hub is one I was actually there for in person, and I didn't think was that great when I watched it in person. It wasn't until I saw it on TV where I was like, oh, wow, that was a good fight. And it was the Matisse-Molina fight. It was, Matisse is a fan favorite. Everybody was there to see him. He got a big response. And then Molina hurts him in the first round, and I remember.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't he rock him with the first punch he threw or something like that?
Yeah, he hit him with the right hand. I remember just sitting there by myself. My girlfriend had a hot dog there and got sick, so she went to the car, so she missed out. I mean, I don't think she cared anyway, but I remember just sitting there by myself and just like, holy crap! Like my heart started beating because I wanted Matisse to win, and all of a sudden Matisse's hurt in the first round, and that was really the first time I'd ever seen Matisse look hurt in a fight, even though he'd been dropped against Garcia. He didn't look hurt. And, It looked like Molina was going to stop him. Now, it wasn't until the next time I saw Matisse at Stub Hub that he did get stopped. But, that was a fantastic fight.
Were you shocked at that point?
Matisse losing to Molina or Postol?
Yeah, sorry, Postol. I'm just going a little bit off topic.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Were you surprised? No.
I was, because I didn't think Postol was that good. I don't give you credit for beating Selchuk. I didn't, even though if it was a, really nice uppercut. So what? That's one win. And one win doesn't make a fighter, pound for pound worthy. It doesn't make him like this unbeatable force. Anybody can score a great knockout.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. What makes the Stub Hub Center so special? Like, why is it attractive to like these guys? Why did they want to fight there? Like,
now I got to release this this article or this piece that I'm working on. Soon.
Tease it. You can tease it.
Here's what it comes down to. The Stub Hub Center is small. When you look from the ring or from ringside and you look out into the audience, in a normal arena like the MGM Grand Garden Arena is one of the examples that I use, you don't see faces. You just see a sea of people. And people are so far away that you don't really see eyeballs looking right back at you. You might see them ringside, but for most of those people, most of them, it's their job to be there. But at Stub Hub, you look out, and it's so close and it's so intimate that you see people, even in the top row, their eyeballs looking right back at you. You can feel what they want looking in the ring, and I think it just brings out this primal nature in people in guys who are fighting. This like, I have to put on a performance here because these people are watching me. I mean, I've been to Stub Hub plenty of times now and seen a bunch of different performances, and without question, it never fails that there's at least one fight on the card that is just like, wow, that was a war. Even the young guys who come out and fight, they put on shows, and I think that's what makes Stub Hub so special, is that its smallness, the way it's been built. It just creates like an atmosphere like no other, and I think LA has a really good. I think we have smart boxing fans. I think our boxing fans we come out for guys.
It's a big sports city in general.
Yeah, we come out for Golovkin. Golovkin just sold out the Forum, which is like a normal arena. He sold that out. Gonzalez gets big receptions here. I don't think Gonzalez gets much of anything if he fights, say in Connecticut or something. I think LA is kind of like the one city here in America that can compete with some of the UK cities, because boxing is much bigger and more popular in the UK, and the fan base is a little more vocal out there. And while we don't chant or sing or anything, we do bring the same sort of intensity that you see in fights that take place in, Manchester, Liverpool, wherever. Maybe Hull? Is that where Coyle versus Campbell was?
Yeah, they did it in Hull, but that was just like a
nice environment though for a fight.
Yeah,
because it's outdoors.
It only had so much significance because they were both like local around there. Though it's not really known for being like a boxing hotspot in Yorkshire.
Yeah, but it reminded me of it because it looked like it was tiny, and the other thing is that it was outdoors, and that's the thing with Stub Hub is it's outdoors in the summer when it's hot. You're outdoors in like 80-degree weather. You have the ocean breeze because it's 9 miles away from the ocean. That breeze coming in, I mean, it's a great venue. If you ever get a chance to come and see a fight at Stub Hub, you have to do it.
Yeah,
I'm not talking to you though, but let's see. What do we have next? So let's move on to, I think, a topic that you're going to have way too much fun with. We're going to talk about why Bret Hart is the best there is. No, I'm kidding. What has too much hype right now? So the floor is yours, and I'll provide some I guess, some counterpoints to whatever you're about to say.
All right, so let me just I'm going to clear something up. I try to always be objective when I give arguments. I know I get a lot of shit here and there for like shitting on certain fighters or whatnot. And that's
Being a
all done in
fanboy.
jest. But at the end of the day, I can also like be objective of fights, of fighters, of promoters and networks and whatnot. But one of the things that really pisses me off at the moment is I wouldn't say Golovkin fans, but the people who are just completely ignorant and bandwagoning on Golovkin, maybe even the casual guys, simply because since the Canelo Cotto fight, that have been calling him a coward and a pussy, and it's like, well, hang on, you really expect him to go from fighting Miguel Cotto to Gennady Golovkin in the space of 4, 5, 6 months? Like, really? Like, when you look at Canelo's resume for a start, and I'm not saying like he's better than this guy, he beats Golovkin, he beats this guy. No, I'm just saying if you look at the respective resumes, right, and you can do this for Canelo against anybody in the sport. Look at the 3-year run that Canelo Alvarez has been on compared to anybody in the sport not named Andre Ward at super middleweight or Vladimir Klitschko. He's got the best resume in the sport. He's fought Floyd Mayweather, Erislandy Lara, Austin Trout, and who wants to fight Lara and Trout? Kellerman said exactly the same thing the other day. What if you're the money guy? Why would you take them fights? Canelo's fearless in that sense. He's not scared to get in the ring with Golovkin. He went down to Floyd's weight, to the catch weight for a fight with him. He went to Cotto's catch weight to fight Cotto. He's fought Lara, Trout. Kirkland, who had like an 85% knockout rate in his fights. Shane Mosley, when he was younger, who, although Mosley was past it at that point, Mosley still had like a ridiculously high knockout percentage as well. He took that fight. The fight's going to happen. We waited 6 years for Mayweather and Pacquiao. And then at the same time, people aren't willing to wait 12 months for Canelo and Golovkin. You can't really expect the guy to go from fighting Miguel Cotto to instantly fighting a guy who they put on pay-per-view and he sold the same amount as Jones-Hopkins rematch. It wasn't a good sell. No, this isn't me shitting on it. It just didn't sell well. So you've got to give that time. I don't want to use the word marinate or whatever, but you've got to give it a little bit of time, and that's why they've both had the respective interim fights. Golovkin fought Wade in another squash, and you've got Canelo fighting Amir Khan, which at the end of the day, it's a no-win situation for Alvarez. I mean, he wins the fight. Everybody says, oh yeah, but we expected you to do that. You know, Khan makes him work a bit, and then suddenly it's like he's got no chance against Golovkin if he can't do this to Amir Khan. Golovkin's going to walk all over him. But at the same time, I do think Golovkin's an elite fighter. I think Golovkin is definitely the smart money in a fight with Canelo. But people really do need to just chill the fuck out with all this calling boxers cowards and calling them pussies and duckers. The only guy I know who actually ever ducked somebody was Riddick Bowe with Lennox Lewis. That's the only instance I've ever really seen of it. But you could say that about a lot of fighters as well. I mean, Roman Gonzalez fans, I mean, nobody really knew who this guy was until about 18 months ago before he was on HBO. All we really had of Gonzalez was a few grainy YouTube clips from when he was fighting in Nicaragua. And then now it's like...
It hasn't even been a year, actually.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same principle with him. I mean, he doesn't sell. They don't. He's the pound for pound best fighter in the sport, not named Andre Ward, in my opinion, without a shadow of a doubt. He's fantastic, but people don't really give a fuck about that weight division. And it's sorry to say that one of the premier talents in the sport is at a division that casual fans don't really want to see Gonzalez versus Sosa. I mean... Well,
no, that was a terrible fight.
Yeah, I've been saying for the past couple of weeks that I'd love it if Gonzalez would either rematch Estrada or if he moves up a division and he fights Naoya Inoue. Now, that would be my dream fight. But that isn't going to sell to casuals. Casuals don't know who Naoya Inoue is, and casuals don't really give a shit about Roman Gonzalez, I mean, you can have ESPN and HBO and all the adverts you want and all the hype you want surrounding it. People are just not going to tune into a 112-pound fighter, and that's the way it is.
And
It's
I think Inoue's a tough sell. Look.
Exactly, yeah. He's 9
fights. If you just look at Inoue, he does not you're not going to sell Inoue to the American audience.
Yeah, how many Japanese guys have been marketable to an American audience? I mean, they brought the Kameda.
Guy. That's about it.
Is he though? Yeah, because they brought Kameda over, and it's like, yeah.
He could have done it, but what he had that a lot of guys didn't have is that he spoke Spanish. He was accepted as one of, and he fought like his name was Little Mexican. And he fought like he was.
Yeah, you need to have something like that. And, Inoue doesn't have that. And even though he's in my top 10 pound for pound, he's fantastic. But he doesn't appeal to Brits. He doesn't appeal to the English speaking audience.
Right. I mean, unless you have your boxing fandom can be described as a habit. But look, here's where I want to go with this. I'm going to take it a step further. I agree with you mostly with what you said, but what people need to really calm down about is that, look, boxing is a business. This isn't like the NBA where the best teams will face each other. Why? Because there's a tournament at the end. Boxing doesn't have that. They don't have 5-year contracts with guaranteed money. That isn't there. There's no guarantee that you will have a shot to compete at the highest level, that you'll be on that stage to make the most money you can possible. And because it's a business, fighters have to look out for themselves. And I know a lot of fans don't want to hear that. They don't want to look from, hey, this is a business. It's like, no, you're a boxer, fight the best guy. But look, there's no safety net for these guys because Magomed Abdusalamov, what happened to him, what happened to Pritchard Colon could happen to anybody. That could have happened to Dominic Wade. That could have happened to Edgar Sosa when he fought Roman Gonzalez. I mean, that's the kind of risk you do take when you fight a guy like Gennady Golovkin, Roman Gonzalez, Sergey Kovalev. These come forward, nonstop action fighters, and it's risky. And you could say, oh, well, then he's scared. Maybe. You could say that he's scared, or you could say he's smart.
Scared to that extent.
Well, I don't know
really
that everybody's scared. I think everybody knows the risk, and I think everybody also knows that I have a chance to win, but I'm going to do this when it makes the most sense financially as well as,
of course, yeah,
where I am in my development. Obviously, Earl Spence is highly talented. I don't think he was going to fight Floyd Mayweather, in Mayweather's last fight because, look, you have a whole career ahead of you. And while Mayweather would be a good short-term play, there's the long-term to think about.
Yeah, why take the loss there? Why? It's just, it doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint or any standpoint, really. Why, disrupt the career of a young up-and-coming guy with a guy who's leaving the sport? But I'd like to build on something you said about fans trying to rush the fights and fans being fickle. I completely agree with what you said with regards to that. And one of the points I tried to make is, what would happen then if, you did get all the dream fights that you want? Say Stevenson Kovalev, and then you had Fury and Joshua, and then the winner of that fought the winner of Wilder and Povetkin. Or we had complete unification at middleweight, or any other division. And then what?
It would be like UFC.
Yeah, then we have to go through this ridiculous period where everybody claims that boxing's dead because the division's dead, like when Andre Ward cleaned out 168. The division goes quiet. There's not really any money there, or not as much money as there was, because there's one guy that's sitting above everybody else. And then you've got to wait for the next generation to come around then, because you've got one guy who just rules the roost. And then, from a business standpoint, nobody wants to pay interest to that division anymore because it's done. It's finished.
Well, it'll look the same like right now. Because
exactly.
Golovkin, I mean, really, he's got nobody at middleweight to fight, and people are mad about that. So now they want Golovkin to move up in weight, which maybe he can, but what if he doesn't? You can't fault a guy for not wanting to move up in weight. Some guys are just at their limit. Floyd Mayweather was at his limit. Manny Pacquiao was at his limit. He never even
made 154. Mayweather always came in at like 151. I think 151 was his highest ever weigh-in weight.
I mean, Ward, it looks soft at 175, and this is the guy that's always, he hasn't been like shredded Tim Bradley.
He wants to go to heavyweight one day.
Yeah, and that's the competitive spirit in Ward, and you got to give him all the credit in the world for that. But
Yeah, there's a definite limit. There's a surefire limit to how much you can push your body and how your body's going to react once you put that weight on. Will it react the same as it did 8 pounds lighter? Will it, will you be able to get out the way of punches as fast? Will you be able to get punches off as fast? Will you be able to throw as many punches? There's so many like different aspects involved in it, and people need to take that into consideration as well when they start calling for catch weights and start calling for people to move up and move down and whatnot. If it was really that simple, if the money's there, how many legacy fighters are there nowadays in the sport? There's not that many. Most people are in it to get paid. So if the option was there and it was viable, believe me, they'd do it a lot more.
look, nobody nobody goes to work for their legacy.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, it's how much are you taking home? Because guess what? What's expected of people in our society is to have a family, to provide for themselves, to take care of those people that they care about. And you can't do that if you are, not looking out for your business interests.
I mean, it's hard to sell a legacy fighter anyway. I mean, how many guys out there were actually willing to move up and down weight classes, like not giving a fuck, and then fighting the best names, win, lose, or draw, and then carry on doing it?
It's not a viable option, though, because
that path to do it, but he's not there yet. And the only guy that I know of who's actually been willing to do this in such a short period of time recently was Oscar De La Hoya, because he was a draw. People were always going to buy him because he always took the big fights. But even then, there was a limit, and De La Hoya's limit was middleweight. As soon as he went up to middleweight, he had the...
It might have been 154.
Yeah. Well, he had it with Felix Sturm, and then when he came back down... Yeah, he came back down after losing to Hopkins. He fought Pacquiao, and he was clearly drained, and he needed IV... rehydration. He needed intravenous rehydration. And he ended up losing that fight. And, there's only so much you can do to your body with regards to, going up and down and fighting this guy, fighting that guy. Because at the end of the day, each fight takes a physical toll on your body. It adds up. That's why you don't necessarily... You look at people like Bernard Hopkins, who've been doing this shit for 30 years, and it's like, this guy is just a freak. This guy's a once in a generation, maybe even once in a lifetime. You can't expect these guys to do what they do. Look at Shannon Briggs. Look at the state Roy Jones is in now, and James Toney. You can't. There's only so much you can really push fighters, and a lot of fans out there really need to relax with regards to like trying to make this fight or try to tell people that they should be going at this weight or they should be fighting this guy. If it was that simple, then believe me, it'd be done. But people just want the quick solution.
Exactly. And I'm not trying to defend Canelo. Like, I do want him to fight Golovkin. I think that'd be a great fight. But I'm not going to blame, if it was the other way around, if it was Golovkin saying, I want to build up my star power so that it meets yours, so that this is going to be a 1 million buy pay-per-view versus 400, I'm all for it. And
do you think he's going to fight him?
I do. I do think he's going to fight him.
He's going to fight him. Of course.
That's the thing. And even if he wasn't giving off any indications right now that he wanted the fight, these things have a way of working themselves out. Mayweather-Pacquiao happened. I mean, come on. If you're a boxing fan and you're still pessimistic about guys fighting each other,
exactly.
Have you been paying attention? This stuff happens. Floyd Mayweather said, I will never, ever work with Bob Arum. And what happened? We had the biggest pay-per-view in sports history.
180 million's there to be made. Oh, yeah, I'll fight Manny Pacquiao. I'll work with Bob Arum. Of course they will.
I mean look at
it happened with Stevenson and Kovalev if the money was there.
If
they could make money, yeah.
And in that situation, but look at it. Look, these guys are not the draws that they think they are.
Didn't an Al Heyman fighter just appear on a Golden Boy card as well?
Dominic Wade is an Al Heyman fighter.
Yeah, just want to throw that out there for all the people who, again, think that PBC are trying to monopolize things, and they're willing to work with other companies.
See, look, right now,
it's a business. Like all sport, it's a business.
Money calls the shots.
Yeah.
So let's see. We're now going to draft some young fighters. So last week we drafted the top 10 fighters in each who we thought we wanted in our stable. So now this week we're going to do a draft where we look at the top. We've got a list of about 20-something fighters here. And we're going to see who would be the guys that would be best, that you would pick if you were starting your own boxing organization, I guess, or promotion. There's some guys that Dean listed. I didn't look at them. Dean just sent me a list that I certainly wouldn't have, that I'm certainly not going to pick. And then there are a bunch of guys that are on the bubble. We're looking at guys that are only 25 or younger. So guys that are 26, like, can you believe that guys like Terry Flanagan, Javier Fortuna, Francisco Vargas, Adrian Broner, Earl Spence, Jose Pedraza, Anthony Joshua, Eubank Jr., Billy Joe Saunders, Callum Smith, Pedro Guevara, all 26 years old, not eligible. Kosai Tanaka's eligible, but Dean says that nobody cares about him.
Well, nobody in America is going to give a shit about him. Nobody in England's going to really give a shit about him. So if we're going to do this right, then we're doing it for the guys who we're going to try and market. So he doesn't really fit into that.
All right, so we're going to flip a coin, and well, look at this. Dean gets to go first this time.
All right. Well, I know it's going to be really, really like
shocking. That you're about to pick Canelo?
Yeah. Obviously, I'm going to pick Canelo because he's a pound-for-pound fighter. He's fought for lineal titles multiple ways. He's 25 years old. You know, he's the money guy in the sport. He's got a long career ahead of him. He's willing to fight the big names. He's easily marketable. So my first pick is obviously going to be Canelo.
Okay, and look, nobody's going to fault you for picking Canelo. He's the only legitimate star on this list. I mean, he's the biggest draw in boxing right now. And I'm not going to pick Inoue because while Inoue is like 22 or 23 years old, guess what? Nobody's going to watch him. Nobody's tuning into those fights. So I will pick Oscar Valdez. And why I'm picking Oscar Valdez is because, look, you pick a Mexican, I'm going to pick a Mexican. And while Valdez doesn't have the charisma or the looks that Canelo does, I think he can tap into another part of the Mexican, what should we say, demographic that is going to make him a big star eventually.
Mexicans have a lot of national pride. And while Canelo's he's happy to he represents Mexico, don't get me wrong, he's proud of where he comes from. Valdez seems like the really nationalistic kind of guy who's he's super proud of Mexico and
went to the Olympics twice.
Yeah. So that's a good pick, and that would have been my first pick had Canelo not been in this list. Definitely. All
right, so who is next?
Without a doubt, I'm picking Naoya Inoue.
Good. Yeah. So that's who's going to do the 50,000 pay-per-view buys for you.
Well, the fights are there. If you've got HBO trying to market Roman Gonzalez, and if he does move up in weight, then the guy at that division is, without a shadow of a doubt, the kid who's had 9 fights and he's a multi-weight world champion, and that's Naoya Inoue. He is something special, and it's a shame that he's Japanese. It really is. If he could speak English, or if he came over and fought out of America or in Britain or anywhere, even Mexico, then fans would take to him because of his style. He's just spectacular to watch. But yeah, it's a shame that he's only fought in Japan in the Ariake Coliseum or wherever it is he fights. But yeah, I'll pick Inoue. He's special, elite talent.
He is without a doubt a special talent, and I'm gonna go with, for my next pick, Joseph Diaz. Now he's come under some criticism for his defense, but his last fight he looked spectacular. Power emerged that hadn't been there in his previous fights. So Joseph Diaz seems like a safe pick. He's the same division as Valdez. I can build up a huge fight between these two guys. Who do you have next?
Okay, well, at this point, there's maybe 3 that I want to choose. I'm probably going to go with Jermell Charlo.
Wait, is it Jermell or Jermal?
Whichever one's the better one.
Well, I'm not telling you that. You got to do your own homework.
I'm going to go with... I'll go with Gilberto Ramirez. He was actually going to be... Yeah, he was going to be the one...
He was the one pick.
He was the one between the Charlos that I couldn't pick on. It'll probably be Ramirez.
You want the guy who's going to lose his belt in his next fight?
Nah. He's younger, the way he beat Abraham. handily beat Arthur Abraham as well. It was pretty exciting to watch, and
I
the
had
market's
Abraham
there for
7-5. But my last name is also Feigen Boots. So
Austin.
yeah, so I don't know if you really want Ramirez.
No, I'll take Ramirez because he's got a decent future ahead of him because he's younger than the Charlos. He's in a division where he's only young and 168. He could potentially go up to 175, and he's good, exciting to watch. So yeah, pick number 3 will be Gilberto Ramirez.
And here I go with the steal of the draft.
I know where this
with
is
my
going.
third pick out of Puerto Rico, Felix Verdejo.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
And why? Well, have you seen him? Have you seen that smile? Have you seen the charisma that oozes off this guy? The only thing that's missing right now is like that dominant Felix Verdejo type of performance on HBO. He can't seem to get it together when they put him on HBO, but when he's on any other channel, this dude is electric. But HBO, he seems to struggle. He actually struggled in his last fight, but guess what? He's going to work it out. He's going to work out those hand problems, and he will be a superstar, and this will be, mark my words, the steal of the draft. Your turn.
Okay, I will take Jamal Charlo as number 4.
I was hoping you would mix them up.
No, I'm taking Jamal. He's
got a tough fighter ahead of him.
Yeah, he's got Austin Trout. I think he'll beat Trout. He's already got some decent names on the resume as well. And both brothers are super talented, but Jamal is the one who's like a little. You'd expect him to go a little bit further. If you're going to pick one of the brothers to go high, like higher than the other, you pick Jamal. So Jamal is my 4th.
Absolutely, Jamal is the guy with the power. Jamal is a bit
Jamal's like 27 with 12
paced.
knockouts.
I mean, the resume or the records suggest that I might be wrong, but look, I've watched these guys' fights. I think I've seen almost every single one of both of their fights. And Jamal is much more subdued, and he's had more struggle in his career thus far than Jamal has. But Jamal is, I think, a little more boring to watch. He's a little more basic, but he knows how to use his offense like really well. With my next pick, this is going to shock you. I know it is. I'm going to go with Joseph Parker.
You motherfucker, I knew that was coming. That was my 5th.
Look, Joseph Parker.
I was trying to sneak that one.
Yeah, nice try. Look, I'm actually worried about this pick because Joseph Parker is a tiny heavyweight right now. I mean, if Tyson Fury's going to reign as long as we think he is, at 6'4", I don't know that this guy beats Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury or even Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's a much bigger guy. If Povetkin gets the belt, maybe he could beat Povetkin. Parker's got 16 knockouts right now out of his 18 fights. I think if he does get a belt, and he's got a good fight ahead of him next weekend, I think it is. Oh, wait, no. It's not May yet. I forgot the date. But, Parker could be a star if he could somehow weasel his way into a title belt.
All right. Well, for my last pick, I will take Josh Warrington. I've got to take somebody Brit.
How many knockouts does Josh Warrington have?
Well, how many knockouts does Jamal Charlo have?
He probably has like 15
12
and 21
and 27.
Fights. It's the same ratio.
No, I'm picking Warrington because if he does get to like world level at featherweight, look at the guys who are in that division who you can match him up with. Who's like classed as a featherweight right now? You've got Santa Cruz is there, Frampton's there, Lomachenko's there. It's just a talent-rich division, and if Warrington gets some of them fights eventually, then why not? I think it's a solid pick. He's also you can market him because he's unbeaten at the moment. So yeah, number 5 would be for me Josh Warrington. So that's Canelo, Inoue, Ramirez, Jamal Charlo, and Josh Warrington as my 5.
All right, let me tell you why you made a mistake here. There's a void in boxing with the retirement of Manny Pacquiao. There's
You're
a
going to
void.
go for Magsayo. I was thinking about it.
I'm not going to go for Mark Magsayo, which would be a smart pick, but I'm not going to do it. Why? Because Mark Magsayo was dropped in his last fight. And I
Pacquiao
don't
was
know.
dropped twice early.
I don't know that he has the charisma that Manny Pacquiao did. And, few do. But I've seen Albert Pagara. I've seen him in person. And this guy has an aura to him. He's... I said his name, right? Albert Pagara? That's the one I'm picking next. He's got an aura to him. I think this kid could be special.
Are you sure you don't want to pick knockout CP Freshmart?
No, because he's a liar. That guy's a liar, and I don't want to hear a word out of him. Do not call yourself knockout CP Freshmart if you ain't going to knock out people. Like, it's really simple. If your name it has knockout in it, you can't have a 50% KO ratio.
I think...
you can't.
I think... Cuenca should change his name to Knockout.
I doubt it would be on the level. And look, like we talked about, Inoue is not going to connect with English-speaking audiences. Freshmart's 5'1", 5'1". Like I don't like that's 155 centimeters because you're British, and I don't know if you know what 5 feet are. But 155 centimeters. I don't know what that is in inches, but it's not a lot. He's a small guy, and I don't think he connects. I'm going to go with Albert Pagara.
Yeah.
And you will see him. He will emerge very shortly on the world level. He might end up beating Donaire for his title because he fights at super bantamweight. And he's on the track to become the number one contender for the super bantamweight title, that the WBO version. Guess who holds that? Nonito Donaire. It'll be a passing of the torch moment. Even though Pacquiao never passed the torch to Donaire.
I was going to say, we thought we were going to have that with Crawford and Pacquiao, but, never came about. All right, I've got one for you. And we'll make this really quick. Out of the guys who were 26 years old in that list, who would you pick if you had one pick? I'll let you go first.
Ooh.
Because I know you really want to pick Broner.
So the list again is Flanagan, Fortuna, Vargas, Broner, Pedraza, Spence, Joshua, Eubank, Saunders, Smith, and Guevara. Come on, man. It is not even a question. I'll tell you right now, this is what it comes down to. It erase everybody. Nobody else on that list is as important as Earl Spence and Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So now
hold on, really?
Yeah, really? Because do you see Broner winning another world title? Legitimately?
I see a guy in there who could potentially dominate an entire division.
Callum Smith?
Yeah.
No.
And he can move up as well.
He could move up, but he'd just lose to Andre Ward. So, I don't know why he would do that. So, come on. It doesn't get any better than Earl Spence or Anthony Joshua. And if I'm going to pick, and I hate to do this, I hate to pick between Earl Spence and Anthony Joshua.
Go on, take some pride.
Take some pride?
Do it for your country. Go on.
My country?
Yeah.
Look.
Pick Anthony Joshua.
I think I am going to pick Joshua. The thing is, who looks more unbeatable? It's Spence. Spence looks unbeatable. Joshua looks like the wrong shot could catch him, and the story's over. Joshua looks like he might be able to be outboxed. It doesn't look like it's easy to outbox Earl Spence. Does not look easy, and it certainly doesn't look easy to knock him out.
The money's still at welterweight, and you want to pick the heavyweight who's arguably got a paper title.
Look, if Tyson Fury keeps doing what he's doing, I like Vladimir Klitschko, and I'd like him to beat Tyson Fury. I think it just add some more wrinkles into the heavyweight division. But look, we have to somehow get Tyson Fury and David Haye to fight each other.
Never happening. Ever happening.
That build-up alone, or some combination of Haye, Fury, and Wilder for a title. Any combination of that is going to bring mainstream attention to that fight because the antics will be insane.
You could throw more money at Fury than he's seen in his entire career, and he would still turn the Haye fight down out of principle.
Well, hopefully he takes it and then just doesn't show up on the night of the fight.
Well, maybe, because don't forget, Haye actually had Fury banned from his hometown arena from a fight.
Well, did it have something to do with all the metal missing? I think I stole your joke. Sorry.
He pulled out of the fight twice. One was a legit injury, which everybody who ever saw him on air saw, because he was walking around with a ridiculous cast all over the top of his torso and shoulder. Now, he also laughed about this, which was really classless. And I mean, I know it's a bit like pot calling the kettle black, talking about Fury and classless, but in a sport where, you know, the guys are trying to make money and this is their living, they're trying to make, and Fury's got a lot of money. Haye's got a lot of money anyway, and he's set. You know, at this point, he's fighting just, you know, for more money, really, but he's already pretty wealthy. And Fury's never had that big payday at this point, and they've signed to fight. And Fury was set to make his first ever, like, £1 million purse. And then he pulled out twice. And then not only did he pull out, he then taunted Fury, saying that he'd never give him a payday. And then, whilst Haye's retired or semi-retired, or he's injured for 3 years and he's inactive, Tyson Fury does what nobody's done in 11 years, and he's suddenly the lineal champion. He's got most of the belts, he's the unified champion, and all of a sudden Haye wants the payday now. Haye wants to fight with Fury, and Fury's turned round and said, I would rather retire than give him a payday out of principle for what he did to me.
Look, so sometimes you have to do what's best for business.
I don't think you're ever going to get Fury, and particularly gypsies or travellers, whichever's the most PC word to call them. I don't really give a fuck.
Well, then call them what you want.
Pikeys. They really don't. They stick to the word. They're about honour and principle. No, they really are. They really do take a lot of pride. They are very proud people, which, you know, Fury's very proud of his roots, and, you know, fair enough. They're allowed to do that. And he's, you know, with all that pride, he won't fight Haye, not a chance. Even if Haye beat Wilder and beat Joshua on the same night and won them belts, Fury's not fighting him to unify, no matter how much money you throw at him. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Which wrestler, past or present, would you have loved to see take up boxing?
Yokozuna.
He kind of looked like Fury.
No, that's a good question. Just for the story's sake, and I can tell a few of these stories really quick, I'd pick Meng.
What about The Rock?
Come on.
The Rock.
Come on.
That charisma?
That charisma, but
can you imagine his post-fight interviews?
What happens if he's got, you know, our namesake and he's got a Mearcan's jaw?
He's
Audley
we're
Harrison.
assuming, but look at the kind of athlete he was. He played football.
That doesn't mean you can fight.
If he had started fighting, like he had an athletic background.
Actually, there's two I'd pick from, and I hope I'm not going to spoil this for your pick as well.
You pick Bart Gunn.
Want to be Meng. I'm going to put that video in the preview. Actually, I'm going to put the Brawl for All video in the preview. Okay, so one would be Meng, and are we talking boxing or fighting in general?
Whatever is going to be funnier.
I'd pick Kurt Angle as well. Kurt Angle.
Well, we do drug testing, remember, in boxing.
Well, he won an Olympic medal and he never failed a test with a broken freaking neck.
That's true.
You know, he won an Olympic gold medal at freestyle wrestling. He's always had a reputation for being like a legit hard guy. But probably if I was picking somebody to fight, it'd definitely be Meng. Now, he bit somebody's. This is a guy who he walked into a group of 5 guys in a bar and bit through somebody's back and spat it on the floor. He popped somebody's eyeball out in a bar fight. No, sorry, it wasn't a bar fight. It was another wrestler. He did this backstage. You know, he lifted somebody 3 feet off the floor in the showers against the wall.
Naked?
Yeah.
It's a little uncomfortable.
What else did he do? He got pepper sprayed by the police and he was in handcuffs. He broke the fucking handcuffs off and then attacked the police.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Is he black? Because they might have shot him if he was.
Tongan. I think it was sorry, not Tongan, Samoan. I think it was Rick and Scott Steiner said that one, like when he maced him and he just like broke the handcuffs off. He reached into a guy's mouth one time in a bar fight, like with his index and his trigger finger, and broke off the guy's bottom teeth. like ridiculous.
Jesus.
And there was stories about, guys who legitimately tried to stiff him in the ring and tried to beat him up and shit like that. And it was just like the other wrestlers had laughed backstage because it was impossible to do. Because, you could punch him and you could hit him with whatever you wanted, and he'd carry on coming forward. But yeah, that was it. We were on a trip to Puerto Rico, and there was a wrestler called Jesse Barr, and he kicked dirt onto a guy who was like digging a ditch. So Meng, who was from like humble background as well, he was like upset by it. He said he shouldn't have done it. So Barr got in his face, argued with him, and then Meng grabbed him and popped his eyeball completely out of socket. And Barr was the one who got fired.
I wonder why this guy's never had to do jail time. And I was really worried about this question. I was really worried. Well, I guess they tried it. He broke out. But I was really... because I thought you were going to say Chris Benoit. I'm really proud of you. My pick would be Bret Hart, because I know that's your favorite.
Is this before Goldberg kicks his head off and retires him, or
before?
All right. You sure you don't want to pick Bradshaw?
No, because didn't somebody beat him up? Well, I know he got hit with a chair once and leaked blood everywhere.
Yeah. No, he was actually pretty notorious for hazing some of the new stars. Well, at the end of the day, I know we're going away from a point here, but do you think them guys would be wrestling if they could actually box?
No, not at all.
No, not
they'd be boxing.
I
think you make more money in boxing.
Yeah, Big Show, pick Big Show.
Tyson. It's basically Tyson Fury right now.
Yeah.
So let's see. What would you like to see in a boxing video game that isn't really just the same old reincarnation of Fight Night or any other boxing game we've had?
All right.
I have a good one.
Now, I've got a good one as well. Let me ask you, which are we talking console games? Are we talking PC games? Because I've played pretty much every boxing game out there.
PS4.
From Punch Out to Fight Night to Fight Night Champion.
What about Ready to Rumble?
I even played Knockout Kings, EA Sports Knockout Kings.
Yep, Oscar De La Hoya on the cover.
I had one on GameCube back in the day. I can't remember which one it was.
Wow, you played GameCube?
Yeah. And anyway, right. So the thing that I thought has always been missing from the Fight Night was the career mode, where you could basically create your own fighter, and you'd start in the amateurs. You'd go through in Champion. You went through an amateur tournament. You won the amateur tournament. You went pro, and then it was just like, right, no, this is the same shit that we've been fed for 15, 20 years of pugilistic games. You fight a higher ranked guy, you move up in the rankings. You fight a higher ranked guy, you move up in the rankings. Oh wait, title shot, you beat that guy. Now you've got the title. Now you can unify. You've unified, and now you're just fighting number one, mandatory, and that's it. There's absolutely no progression career wise. You don't get any say whatsoever in your fight purses. Part of the thing I'd like implemented into it, like a bit more realism. Like you can sign with promoters. You can have your fight purses negotiated. You can reject fights. You can accept fights. I'd like you to be able to have a lot more creative control over your career rather than, right, you've created your fighter. Okay, fight this guy. Fight this guy.
Train, fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Train.
It's just rinse and repeat, and it's like it gets boring after the first 5 times you do it. And you can even skip the training. So
yep.
After 5 times of doing it, it's like, right, fight. And it's like, well, now what? So yeah, I'd like a bit more progression in that sense. I'd like you to be able to have a lot more scenarios in your career. It'd be a lot more in depth. And you could only ever they never really had every single weight class either in Fight Night Champion.
Right.
There's I think, how many weight classes do we have? Is it 18 we have in the sport?
I don't
17?
know. It's not as many as the WBA has belts, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, they don't have every single weight class, which is a bit of a they don't have cruiserweight, they don't have super middleweight, and it's
Champion had super middleweight.
Are you sure?
Now that you say that,
are you sure? I'm sure it went middleweight, like heavy.
It might actually. It might. I can't even remember.
Yeah, because cruisers were bunched in with
Light heavyweights, weren't they?
Cruisers were bunched in with light heavies and some heavy, and then you had super middles who were either middleweights and middleweights and light heavyweights, and you had 145. Like super lightweight wasn't a division, so you had 140 Ricky Hatton at lightweight, or you had him like he wasn't a welterweight, and
No,
just
Hatton
things
was
like
a
that.
welterweight.
Are you sure? I'm sure he was at lightweight. Anyway, regardless, they need proper weight classifications in the game. They need a decent career mode where you're not just going to get bored of the same rinse and repeat bullshit after an hour. You want something that this is my fighter. I want to feel a connection to my fighter. I want to be able to control his actions. I want to be able to do this rather than just you've got a choice of fighting two guys for the same amount of money. You can change your trunks. That's it. So that's what I'd like to see in a fight game anyway.
Yeah, there's really no difference in the game from your
just
first
like a decent
fight
interactive
to, like, your last
career
fight.
mode. Like that. That's like every other EA game seems to have it. Like in the EA UFC, it has it. In FIFA, when you create a pro and you have your career mode, it gets stale, but there's a lot more things you can do with your pro in FIFA. You can do it in Madden. You can do it in all sorts of games. 2K16, NBA. There's a lot of things you can do here and there. So I'd like to see a decent story mode implemented into the game, or a career mode, should I say?
Here's mine. Mine is pretty simple. I think there's two things. One, the games need to be a little harder, and I'd like guys to actually fight with a distinct style.
Definitely.
In Fight Night Champion, I have it on the highest setting with the awareness sliders put all the way to the end, and the computer can't touch me. Like, I can't be beat. Like, I really do feel like I'm Floyd Mayweather when I play that game. And then the other thing, what's more important, though, is I'd like there to be, like, programmed reactions to punches. Like,
rather than
if you don't do anything, you could just punch the guy and the guy doesn't even move. I like them to at least flinch or to try to get out of the way so that the fights look more fluid.
Yeah, there's no head movement or any sort of bobbing and weaving or anything like that, unless you actually physically do it to sway out of punches.
I mean, it doesn't mean. Yeah, like even if you were to do it, it doesn't mean that they're going to not get punched, but they can at least attempt it so that it doesn't look like he's either standing straight, waiting to get punched, or moving his head to the left or moving his head to the right. That's what I'd like to see so that the fights actually look visually appealing.
Yeah, well, when you can create a fighter as well, you also get to choose their style, and you can choose whether they're going to be like a brawler, a swarmer, a boxer, whether they're going to be a counter puncher, whether they're going to be
crazy like Manny Pacquiao, which is his style,
or unorthodox, or orthodox, this, that, and the other, brawler, puncher, boxer, puncher. But then all you're really doing is like changing their the way they stand before before they put the guard up and they throw punches. It doesn't really change anything other than like the walkout stance or the stance before they actually start throwing punches. So that's not really, you can't really, styles make fights rather than two guys just standing there, rock 'em, sock 'em robots for the best part of it. That's really what fight night games are.
All right, so one quick question before we go.
All right.
If they were going to release a game next year, say early, like spring release, who's on the cover?
Canelo.
Canelo.
Well,
after all you said, it just makes complete sense.
No, think of it like this: who was on the cover of Fight Night Champion for you?
Fight Night Champion?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Wasn't it the character?
We had David Haye. I'm sure it was different in other parts of the world, like with other EA games are. I think it was David Haye who was on the cover over here on Fight Night Champion. So probably Anthony Joshua, if they were going to release the cover over here, especially in this country, it'd probably be a British fighter. And I doubt it'd be Tyson Fury because EA want to sell the game. But I know it was definitely different. Let me just check.
No, Anthony Joshua is the natural choice for a UK game. And I think in America, the natural choice is Terrence Crawford if he beats Victor Postol. I think he combines like a video game style that would sell.
Yeah,
I mean,
you guys had the what's his name?
Andre Bishop.
Yeah, you had Bishop on the cover, but before that, De La Hoya was on the cover of one, wasn't he? And Gatti Ward was on the cover of another. It's definitely
Round 4 was Ali and Tyson for us.
Yeah,
wow!
I
I'm
think we
looking
had,
at
did we have Ali
screenshots from
Tyson?
round 4. The game looked terrible.
Terrible, yeah. No, we had was it?
Wow, the graphics were terrible back then.
Yeah, Fight Night 2 had Hopkins on the cover. 3 had De La Hoya, but I think either the American one had De La Hoya or the American one had Gatti and Ward, and Europe had had the other. I think 4 was Ali and Tyson.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether we had something different, but
All right, well, that's it for this edition of the Glassjaw podcast. We will be back soon. Rest in peace, Prince.
before we go, the guys who listened and commented last week, I know there was a guy who said he would like to come on and shoot the shit with us in a couple of weeks' time, and I've not forgotten about you. Don't worry about that. We'll get round to getting you on. And I know this is meant to be like a semi-argumentative podcast, but we are having trouble getting Adam and a couple of other guys we're trying to get on, like, for time constraints at the moment, but we will get back to that format in the future, but it won't be too long. Anyway, thanks for listening as always. Peace.